Got an email from Terry in Williamston, Michigan. Here's what Terry has to say. Dear Gary, we have a 2008 Monaco Dynasty and we are having a problem with getting the fresh water pump to work properly. That can be frustrating. It won't shut off and will not provide water. Thank you. Well, Terry, typically if the water pump loses its prime, or if there's air induced anywhere into the suction side of the system, it could kind of lock up and not pump water, and therefore never sense any pressure in the system to tell the pressure switch to turn the pump off. The thing to do would be to gain access to the water pump wherever it's located and check closely all the fittings, make sure they're all tight. Obviously, you probably don't have any leaks anywhere in the coach, so it's probably not downstream of the pump, but more likely the air leak is on the suction side or the non-pressurized side of the pump. In other words, it's located between the freshwater container and the inlet to the water pump. Now, the water pump itself could be defective, but that's probably not the case. You can eliminate, first of all, by gaining access to the water pump, checking all the hoses and connections on the pump to make sure that they're sound and good and tight, and also the connection on the outlet port of the water container as it leads to the inlet side of the freshwater pump. Also keep in mind there's probably a filter or a strainer of some type positioned somewhere in that line on the suction side of the pump. It's probably attached with hose clamps because it's a non-pressurized portion of the system, so it's okay to use just simple common hose clamps. Make sure the hose clamps are tight. Make sure you're not sucking air anywhere. You say it's a 2008 coach, so chances are the hoses aren't going to be deteriorated to where they're cracked or anything, but always double check. Make sure you can feel the whole length of hose between the tank and the pump. There's probably there could be a pinhole somewhere on that suction line. Some coaches may even have a T in that line that would run to a valve for winterizing purposes with a short piece of hose that basically just sticks inside the bottle of RV antifreeze. So check all those connections. Obviously, I think you're sucking air, or you've got an air gap or an air lock somewhere on that suction side of the pump. That would be the first step. If everything looks good there, all the hoses are tight, all the hose clamps are tight, there's no leaks, everything appears to be okay, then the other thing you could do would be to take the outlet fitting off of the pump and have a little pan down there, and then activate the pump to see if you can get it to give it that short burst of water that's needed to come through the pump to build the prime back up. Today's pumps are all self-priming. They're all very good pumps typically, so it's usually not a problem with the pump. However, if indeed the pressure switch does fail in the pump, will not shut off, then in some cases, some pumps you can replace just the pressure switch. But I'll tell you what, at the RVIA National Trade Show recently, there was some nice new pumps out on the market. If I had a faulty pressure switch in my water pump and it's 3 going on 4 years old, I do believe I would simply replace the entire pump and get one of the newer, quieter, higher output pumps. So check that out at your local dealer or your parts and accessory store. See if that might be an option. But you can pinpoint the problem to the pump or to the suction side, the non-pressurized side of the pump. Now, if you think there may be anything downstream of the pump that's causing that, once you take that output side of the pump loose, that hose off that goes to the rest of the water distribution system, you can cap it or plug that hose connection off, turn the pump back on with the wall switch, and see if that doesn't build up enough pressure to shut the pump off. If it works there and it does shut the pump off, then you know the pressure switch is probably okay, meaning the water pump is probably okay, and you may have to dig a little bit further. Maybe you have some type of a bladder or some type of a device later on in the distribution system. Maybe you have air in the water heater, for instance. There's a bunch of different things that can be checked out. But if you don't have no flow through the water, I would definitely suspect air leak on the input non-pressurized side. Check that out and get back to me. Let me know what you find out.